when we came to Bahubali, when we wrote the script, we realized that it is one, it's a big script, that it won't fit into one film. I say my wife watches a lot of Pakistani serials,
Really?
TV shows. Yeah,
Okay.
I think Bahubali would not have been possible but for the travel that I did across 12 years. All the trust, all the relationships carry forward to ultimately at some point it'll all fall into place. We all loved being in Pakistan, loved the hospitality. I mean, honestly, it was one of my most memorable times there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very, very exclusive episode of Behind the Curtain. Within the world of film and entertainment, as a child, I was always excited by the fantasy genre and madly addicted with concepts like Labyrinth, Willow, Neverending Story, Beastmaster, Conan the Barbarian, and then eventually Lord of the Rings. It made me understand the fantasy genre exposes a viewer to a world of make believe, and for that little while, you drift away to this amazing and exciting world created by visionaries who obviously believe in thinking outside the box. Like that, the very special individual who I have in front of me is not an ordinary person but a visionary. A very interesting fact I got to read about over this that he's an American environmental engineer turned film producer, also son-in-law to the veteran filmmaker K. Raghavendra Rao, a family of filmmakers. He is the founder and CEO of Arca Media Works film company, which robustly and exclusively works for Telugu cinema. He's gone to win two National Film Awards, two State Nandi Film Awards, three Filmfare South Awards, the Saturn Award, and the Australian Telstra People's Choice Award. The man behind the one and only epic fantasy. Actually, wait, not one, but two. The first being Bahubali, the beginning, and Bahubali 2, the conclusion. The biggest, ambitious, most expensive Indian films to date, shattering box office figures. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor and pleasure of having with me today none other than the super producer, Mr. Shobu Yarlagadda. Sir, how are you?
Very good, Rafay. Nice to
Uh,
be talking to you.
I'm thankful that you gave a very, very small filmmaker across the border in Pakistan some time to talk. I know you're a very busy man. You have lots of things to do, but I appreciate it and thank you so much for the time coming on my show. How are you doing?
Not bad, considering it's a lockdown now. So not too much work. All our productions are on a standstill, but doing well. Staying at home, doing something, keeping myself productive.
So what's the situation currently in India? I mean, everything is shut. There's actually nothing happening. No sneaky shoots. We're very careful with the shoots there.
Yeah, nothing happening as far as, especially with regards to film industry. The theaters are closed. All the productions have come to a standstill. Absolutely no work happening except for the writing part.
Right.
So we are focusing on getting our writing in place for the future projects. So the teams are working from their individual houses, and we have Zoom calls and online calls to just get this going. But other than the prep and writing, nothing else is happening across India.
So I would like to ask you as a first question that how did it all begin? I mean, such a huge risk, such a journey. Considering fantasy genres are like hard to execute. I would like to start off and please go ahead.
So it all started actually goes back to my relationship with the director, Rajmouli.
Right.
We go long back. So we have done a project earlier, very beginning called Maryada Ramana. That was our first project together. But much prior to that, we have known each other, that he has worked on television serials for
Right.
my father-in-law's company, and I've known him personally and professionally since then. And after doing Maryada Ramana, which was a small project obviously compared to Bahubali and compared to most other projects that Rajmouli had done. So after that, we said that we would like to do something really on a larger scale, and that's how the genesis of Bahubali happened. And that's when he went and started writing a script for a larger than life fantasy film.
Okay. And did you always want to be a film producer? I mean, was it always in the blood, considering reading a bit about you in the past?
Uh, no, actually, to be honest, no. It's more of, I would say, it's more of survival than passion. So
Okay.
I had, like you said, I was an environmental engineer, and then I
Right.
worked in California for a year and a half for the California Air Resources Board, and then I came back to India because I wanted to always be back home and do something on my own. And I started a couple of startup companies at the time in '96,
Okay.
involved at various stages, and none of them panned out well, and both of them failed. And so in 2001, I had, like you said, from my wife's side of the family, they have been in the film business and television business. And so it was an opportunity to start another business, and that's how I got into television and then eventually into films.
Excellent. That's great to know. I was also reading up on you, and you had played as a crucial role as a line producer as well. So I believe that getting into filmmaking, you have to kind of like go through all the floors of being line producer, etc., and executive, and then just experience everything as learning. So I think I have respect for that. Now when it came to casting and starting for Bahubali, did you do auditions? Was it a straight choice knowing who you wanted? Was it a rigorous process? How did you go about it?
So it's a combination of both. As regards to Bahubali, the hero of the film, that's Prabhas.
Pravas,
The
right.
script was, the script was written with him in mind. So Prabhas was a given, and then Devasena, which is played by Anushka Shetty,
Yeah.
we pitched it to her, and she loved it, and that's how Devasena happened. And then the Ballala Deva which was finally played by Rana Daggupati. We had a couple of options, and then we zeroed in on Rana. But there are many other casts, other primary characters that we had to go through lots of back and forth
Auditions.
and casting auditions and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you went into the inception stages, when you conceiving the idea and everything, were you expecting a hit? How did you weigh out the finance return on investment for this project? How did you work it out?
That's a it's a tricky question. So the thing is, at least in India, Rajmouli in back home in Telugu cinema that I work in, Rajmouli was always a successful director, and and then Prabhas was a successful uh, artist and a hero and a star
Right.
in Telugu cinema. In Telugu cinema, so a combination of both had a certain pre-sale value or a market value, like you would say
Right.
in business circles that you could, whether it's non-theatrical or theatrical rights, you could sell for a certain value that in that range, at least in that range. But when we came to Bahubali, when we wrote the script, we realized that it is one, it's a big script that it won't fit into one film, and
Okay.
two, that the scale at which we were thinking of, even at the early stages, was much more than the market value of the film,
Right.
of the project. So that's when we decided to split it into two parts. One, to do justice to the story itself, and also to make it more economically feasible and viable, because you have two projects, and also you can use the same sets and artists across both the films, especially sets and properties and stuff like that, which you can use. So on the whole, you could bring the per project cost down. So that was the initial idea, and that's how we came to the thought that around in I'll talk in Indian rupees. That's
Yes.
about 120 crore Indian rupees at the time.
Okay.
Was
Wow.
what we came to the budget of decided the budget of both the projects, both the parts of the film, both parts together would
Okay.
be.
Fine.
Uh, and at that time, I think around 70, 80 crores was the market value per film
Right.
for the. So that was thinking at the time. But eventually, the combined value scaled up to 450 crores.
So,
That's what we that's that's what we ended up spending. So.
wow. Wow. I mean, yeah, it obviously looks like an expensive production, risky
Right.
project, and everything, and eventually worked out. Now, you spoke about a little bit about your failures, and I
Right.
mean, previously, and how did that still motivate you go forward? Because as any inspiring filmmakers watching, what pushed you to go to the extra mile?
Leaving alone the failures of my entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
after which I started Arca Media Works in 2001. Since 2001 to 2012, when we started Bahubali,
Yeah.
the 12 years prior has been a huge learning experience for us.
Okay.
We started, as like you said, as a line production. We have done television shows, very small television serials, and then we built up to small mid-budget films, and then came up to the Bahubali. But I think one more factor is the trust and the confidence that you have in the director,
Okay.
who I think is the captain of the ship. And
Right.
here we had a personal relationship, a professional relationship, and a professional trust and a personal trust in him. I think all that because he's already delivered a big hit in Magadira, that is
Right.
his previous film. Again, a big, massive success at that time.
Right.
So all this together gave us the confidence to risk a certain on the project.
Okay. And what inspires you to touch subjects that go to the fantasy realm? Where is this inspiration coming from? Even though I've read about it a little bit, but I would like to hear from you.
I think it was, to be honest, the subject was fascinating because Rajmouli and his father, who was a scriptwriter, and
Right.
his and their team went and wrote the story
Okay.
because we wanted to this larger than life story, and they came back and narrated the story to us, and the characters were so phenomenally strong and so beautifully etched out that we really fell in love with the project, and that's how this whole urge to make this happen came about.
Sure. And looking at the success of Bahubali and how it has moved on, do you have any plans of collaborating with Hollywood
No, nothing right now.
right
Hopefully
now?
at some point.
At some point?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
also, I mean, obviously, you say Bahubali to the conclusion and everything. Any thoughts on expanding the Bahubali universe as compared to the Marvel universe? Maybe could you talk about different factions you ventured onto as well?
Yeah, the Bahubali franchisee, we tried to spin off, and we have, to a large extent, been successful in many aspects. So one
Right.
is we have an animated series based on the younger days of Bahubali and Ballal Deva,
Right.
which is it's on Prime Video, Amazon Prime. It's
Right.
now in the fifth season. Fifth season. Then we have under production live action series with Netflix,
Okay.
which is under production right now. Which is the growth of Shivagami, the mother, Queen Mother,
Right.
how she started and where she is. So that is one aspect. Then we have done quite a bit in virtual reality. We played
Absolutely.
around with. We have done. We have mobile games. We have then comics, graphic novels, merchandising. So we have tried to expand the franchise as much as possible.
Great. And do you believe that transmedia is the way forward when it comes
I
to
think,
media?
uh, yeah, I wouldn't say for every project it would be possible, but there are projects like Bahubali, or there are projects where the world is so big and so the characters are so interesting that you can
Right.
definitely spin off multiple elements out of it and create stories to tell on different platforms, mobile or virtual reality or graphic novels or different platforms.
Right now in the world today in the digital media industry, there's a huge debate of streaming films as compared to putting them on cinema. You know, filmmakers like Steven Spielberg, Christopher Nolan have spoken against streaming giants. What would your thoughts be on it going forward? How do you see this industry evolving?
I think both have to coexist. I
Right.
think streaming and theater will coexist. I think there are certain films which are best enjoyed in theater, like larger than life cinemas, like Bahubali, the Marvel Universe, and the stuff like this, which are you need to be out there. It's an event film. You need to go with your friends and family, and all of them together. You enjoy the collective social environment and enjoy the film. But there are lots of films that you can as well sit in the comfort of your home and
Right.
really have a very nice moment with the film, a very intimate moment with the film. So I think it's more about which film, which story, and which mode of viewership is ideally suited for that. So if
Right.
there is a film that is a romantic romance or a slice of life film, I think maybe it's more suited for OTT or a streaming platform, and a larger than life or a big canvas action more suited towards a theatrical format. So I think it's eventually they'll find their paths.
Pass.
You know.
Right. And when it comes to releasing blockbusters, when someone's made like two people have made blockbusters and on releasing films on holidays, how do two producers sometimes come to an understanding of putting one aside, making dates, or is there a conflict sometimes? How do Indian producers resolve this such a thing?
So now more and more people are becoming adapting to each other's needs. I think they're
Okay.
coming to some understanding. There are occasionally times when there is a conflict when two films come together.
Right.
But more and more people are announcing their dates much earlier,
Okay.
way ahead of like the Hollywood, where almost a year ahead or 6 months ahead, they are announcing, especially Hindi cinema has evolved to where they're announcing their date and sticking to the release date. So other people don't come buy for the same day.
Right.
But sometimes, because of other restrictions, other challenges, sometimes you would find two films at the same time. And then either you talk to the producers and try to sort it out. If not, you go.
Right now the entire world is seeing a tragic time like COVID-19. Almost every single production house, every single every single sort of producer is not working right now. And I'm sure someone like you, a visionary like you who wants to also move forward, how are you and other producers in India working on moving forward? I mean, thinking of concept that in which shootings can resume, environments can be safe, considering the fact that entertainment industry is so tough to shoot and close proximity, touching production environments, coming, going. What are your thoughts on that? How do we move forward from this?
No, it's a really scary time. I
Right.
don't think anybody has a right answer, I mean, the right protocols to follow right now. There's a lot of trial and error method. Obviously, one is we will have to start limiting the size of the units as far as possible. And if it is still not in a written stage, to write stories which are much more compact, much more less demanding on the unit size, etc. And also avoid outdoor travel. Try to do it within your city, within your studios within your city, or moving to do it in the floor in the studio floors.
I mean, speaking of people who are on daily wages and people who are not on contractuals, how does the industry come out and support them? Do you do anything for them?
Yeah, so each industry, like I said, in India, each
Yeah.
industry is doing their bit to support the daily wage working workers. So in Telugu cinema, they have created a fund where everybody has contributed and has been providing its rations, groceries in cash for them to go through this difficult phase. And
Right.
each production house is also taking care of their regular people to the extent that they can. Like our production house, we are taking care of our regular staffers, regular work people who work on our projects, and making sure that they are not in distress. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Now a little bit about the metrics of the entire Indian film industry. We have regulations, we have unions in India and everything. Now, how imperative is it for the system? I'm only again speaking to stark contrast when it comes to Pakistan as well. That what's the process? Do producers meet quite often? Do they discuss everything? Is it a very moving forward stage for unions? And is it important? And if there are any issues with producers, how do you resolve it? If there's any producer with some writers, payment issues, a little light on that.
So I think in India and in each industry, we have, like I said, we all have our own producers union, producers
Exactly.
guild, and then we have the artists guild, and then actually in Telugu cinema we have 23 different crafts. Each craft has its own union, and they all come under a bigger union. And there's been agreements that have been draft between all the producers council and each of these unions on the rates and everything else. And if any, there's always if there's an issue between the writers or the technicians or the crews, it always goes to an arbitration in the council, and mostly it gets resolved, and people abide by whatever is being
Oh,
decided in the council. So it's more or less there's a kind of a system that has evolved over the years, and I think more or less we follow that system. There is a breakdown where the craftsmen are asking for increase in wages or stuff like that, and
right.
there are every 2 years or 3 years there is a certain increase that happens, and sometimes the discussions don't pan out, then we have strikes, etc. But that is not the regular phenomena.
Okay. So that's great to know because we as being part of the Pakistan media fraternity, we always learning. We always look up to India, and it's always good to just acquire points. You were part of the Pakistan International Film Festival in 2018 as you
Right.
come down. Have you seen any Pakistani film? Just curious.
No, I've seen only that one film in the festival that I enjoyed, but no, I haven't seen many
No, not
Pakistani
same.
films.
And I
Yeah,
mean,
although I must say my wife watches a lot of Pakistani serials,
really?
TV shows. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And how was the experience? I mean, I do know, being the first one, I was there. That I mean, yes, I have to tell people, I did meet you there. I was kind of
yeah.
managing hospitality, and I was fond of it. How was the little bit of experience? How was it around? Tell me some sort of some memories that you have from it, and so that people can hear.
No, it's a fabulous. I mean, it's a once in a lifetime experience. We all loved being in Pakistan. Loved the hospitality. I mean, honestly, it was one of my most memorable times there in terms of just meeting. And it's for me, it felt like it's almost like one more state in India. You know, the
Amazing.
people. I mean, if I were to go from south to north India, it's the same variation that I would see. And the love and affection was really amazing, and it was beautiful. I really cherish those moments when I was there. Yeah.
So if given the chance, if it's happening again, you would definitely come down and see us again.
Definitely, if all things, if it's if I'm able to, I would definitely love to be there.
And obviously, the countries always get caught in cross-border tensions. There's always happening, and we're used to it. Do you
Right.
believe in cross-border exchange of business and filmmakers working together? Would you be interested in working with film producers in Pakistan or some collaboration if there's a chance?
Yeah. See, unfortunately, now the situation is such that it's very sensitive,
Absolutely.
we don't. Nobody wants to collaborate and stuff
Of
like that.
course.
But
Yeah.
but I think hopefully, if everything is resolved and we have a much better ties going forward, I would definitely would love to work with new talent across the border.
Okay. Now, they always say that, behind every successful man, there is a woman. Being a filmmaker myself, I've made one film. I've also been part of the television fraternity. Sometimes it can be a little bit, grueling for a film producer, filmmaker to be out all the time, how to give time to his family. So how has Lakshmi ma'am been there, and how have you been there, and how has she supported you? How's the family working? Because you can take lots and lots of time away when it comes to film. So how does that work? How do you balance life?
So especially during the Bahubali production, which
Yeah.
took us about 5 years of time and a lot of stress, and a lot. It took a lot of time and energy from me. So I think at that time she was really there to support me unconditionally, and not. There's a lot of doubt that can creep up, and whether we're doing the right thing, wrong thing, especially in the risks involved are so high, and anything can go wrong. But she completely believed, and she trusted my judgment, I think, and never questioned it, and stood by unconditionally. I think that's a lot to expect and lot to give. I'm very
So
grateful for that.
now, when it comes to promoting new talent, I mean, obviously, how much do you go for it? How much do you push for new talent? Do you give them a chance? Do you bring them on board? Just some thoughts on that.
Yeah, I see it. It depends on the project, the story, and and what movie we are trying to make. So if it is the small budget film, where we are looking for new cast, I think actively looking for new talent makes a lot of sense. We are working with some series for the streaming platforms, original
Yep.
series for the streaming platforms, where we are actively looking for new acting talent, new production design talent, new cinematography talent, or upcoming talent that we would love to use, at least in parts, mix and match, where some established and some upcoming talent. And we've just done one small film, small budget film, and we have looked for all new talent to be cast in that film.
Could you please shed some light on your upcoming projects? What are we expecting from the makers of the biggest films ever made?
So we've been on a little kind of shying away from big projects right now.
Right.
So we have one Telugu film, which is a very small film that's been completed and was scheduled for release in April, but unfortunately due to COVID, it's been put on hold. We have a couple of not couple, we have three original series for different streaming platforms under writing and under production. So mostly a combination of television shows, streaming series, original series for the streaming platforms, and this one small film right now.
Some final thoughts. Who's I was watching. I mean, as a filmmaker, as inspiring filmmakers, people who are struggling. See, I'm also a struggling producer. Sometimes I get my way. We are Pakistan cinema industry does go through its struggling stages. What are some final thoughts? How to move forward, how to look forward to things, not be disappointed if it's failures. Some sort of guidance for all the viewers watching.
So the filmmaking is always under a lot of constraints, whether it is as massive as Bahubali or as small as maybe a 1 crore film or a 2 crore film or even a 50 lakh film. There is always constraints. You always want to get something more for the buck, right? You want to go beyond whatever budget you have because you want to do something more than what you have always. Filmmaking
Right,
is never like, I have 50 rupees, so I will do it in 40 rupees. It's never, I have 50 rupees, how can I do something that will look like 100 rupees, right?
right.
So there are always constraints. There's always constraints, always challenges. And how you take those challenges into your stride and use those to your advantage, I think makes a lot of difference in the kind of film that comes out. So I think whether it is addressing in the script level, and thinking out of the box to overcome those constraints at the scripting level, at the production level, in the making level. How you get your people to support you, to be behind you, and it just makes a fantastic product, I think. And you have to keep doing it. Many times, I'm like, for me, since 2000, when we started, I think many films had been failures, especially the ones that I worked as a line producer. Many of the films were not successful at the box office, and we had to see many different kinds of problems, different kinds of issues. But ultimately, it's each is an experience that adds to your confidence, adds to your strength, adds to your learning. And I think Bahubali would not have been possible but for the travel that I did across 12 years. So it's not something that would have happened on the first day of or the first year, right? It is the 12 years of journey in filmmaking with the connect with the relationship building, which another very very critical aspect is the relationships that you build along the way across those 12 years, the people that you meet, the kind of relationship that you build, and the trust that you develop along the way, that the belief that they have in you. I think even if it's a failure or a success, those stay and those carry forward, and those all the learning, all the trust, all the relationships carry forward to ultimately at some point it'll all fall into place.
Great.
That's all I can.
No, 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 absolutely. So you're saying that unity is very important, relationship building is important, thinking of numbers is important, and I believe, I mean, business model is quite relative when it comes to film because it can be creative, it can be a work of art, but new filmmakers sometimes get very disappointed, and when the film doesn't work,
Yeah,
you go back. So
yeah,
I totally believe that, and it's coming from you, sir. On that note, I think I've asked you lots and lots of amazing questions, and I'm thankful that I'm speaking to one of the pioneers of film industry. There's one thing I want to ask. If ever given a chance, can I get to work with you? I'll cover all my expenses. Can I come just be on the set and experience?
absolutely, absolutely. My
Absolutely.
pleasure. My
No,
pleasure.
that,
My
that,
pleasure.
that when things get better, I want to come and experience it. I've always tell Lakshmi ma'am that I'd like to come experience it, work as well. Just make me an assistant associate. But then again, we're looking forward to great things. It's been an
Absolutely.
absolute pleasure talking to you, sir. Please give regards to everyone. Please give regards to Sir Rajmouli as well, Lakshmi ma'am, the family. Hope you guys are doing safe at a very tragic time. I know you're always in touch. I appreciate that, and please keep in touch. I'm looking forward to the feedback that is going to come, and have a great rest of the evening, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank
Rafay.
you,
Bye.
Sir Shobu. Thank
Bye.
you.